the other two questions, I'll just brush on them, but we've already tackled. So how do we co-parent without conflict after separation? And the other two is it possible to get a common ground on parents to avoid, on co-parenting, to avoid ugly court cases? The last one is, what do you advise to help children who have gone through, like in my situation, they have seen the parents disagree a lot, they have seen the parents fight. Like for me, sometimes I would buy my children something and my ex-husband would tell me I should tell the children that he's the one who bought. So by the time we were leaving, my children were actually really tortured. And I must say this, although it was not the right thing, but I asked my children if they were okay going with me before I left. So I just approached them and I told them, Mommy is leaving tomorrow. Are you okay going with me, or will you stay? And they said, we'll go. So those are the other questions that I had.
All right, I'll also add, thank you, Mama J. I'll also add, there's a question on, my children want to meet their dad. How do I plan for this when he's unapproachable?
Yes.
Now your children,
thank you very much. I was about to ask how many. Now, let's start with, first and foremost, Mama J, it's really is understood circumstances of the day. But now we want to do something for the future. How do we co-parent without conflict? How do we create common ground? How, it sounds like a lion dad, he's not approachable. A lion dad, we need to meet his children and be a soft, nice dad. Let's go to the philosophy of this, because I think that is where it is housed. I love watching animals. They actually tell me there is something God put in us that has a very soft spot for children or young ones. You will find it in the penguin. At least that's my best. You will find it in wolves, surprisingly. We used to insult each other, you wolf. It doesn't sound like it's so bad anymore because they are such good parents. I have seen it also among the primates, doing very good co-parenting. The birds are always number one because there is picking, the worm and bringing to the child. Human beings should be better in co-parenting if animals can actually co-parent. It's a challenge to all of us, male and female, mommy and daddy. And I repeat it, if animals can co-parent, then we should be very good in taking care of our children. So the philosophy of it is this: children are a blessing. It's not just a philosophy of it, it's a biblical stand. Children are a blessing from God. I have heard many people, even in function, say, the person died and left a big burden of 5 children. Children are not a burden. Children are a blessing. So if we approach co-parenting with the burden mentality, money, the children need money, watoto lazima wakule, we're always talking about wakule. Is like, this big burden I have, maybe the easiest way is to run away from it. How do you find common ground? I'm on the philosophy, then I'll come to the practical ways. If I know that I am the one who chose the father of these children, well, I know. People know, except in the case of rape, it's more a question of choice. Then I should take the responsibility for choosing the wrong spouse or the wrong partner. I shouldn't pass that responsibility to my children. I made a choice. Didn't get the best choice, but it is me who made the choice. So there are some pains parents need to bear to give space for their children, because they are the ones who made a choice to have children. Number two, parenting is for life, even beyond 18 years. It may end with money issues 18, 21 years, but advice, emotional support, parenting goes on for life. So if I'm in a project with someone for life, then I need to reduce conflict between me and my partner for life, because both of us have a duty to raise the children for life. So I always tell people, think about the graduation, and now they're starting in kindergarten, all the way to marriage, walking down the aisle, your daughter, you will do with this man and this woman. If that is a partner for the well-being of my children, then I need to remove the conflict areas on co-parenting. So coming to practical ways, how do we co-parent without conflict? Number one is to put the best interest of the child at heart. Children are never called for these meetings or wherever we fight or whatever the case may be. But if we have those discussions with the best interest of the child at heart, then our perspective changes. The question is not what is good for me or what is good for you. The question is what is good for the children. And since both of us are parents, we both can, stretch ourselves to meet the best interests of the child. Number two, to reduce conflict in co-parenting is to just know you're co-parenting for a very limited time. You co-parent for most cases 18 years, 21 years. 24, they are already on their own. It's not a lifetime task. So do it well, because you'll not have a chance to do it again. So your children are watching, they are listening. There are some people who've sown very bitter seeds in their children. Even by the time they reach 10 years, they already have a perspective of how mommy is and how daddy is. Negative perceptions. Then after they hit 24, they no longer need your parental responsibility in the sense of money, which is one area we really fight. We fight so much over the issue of money. But the issue, children only need your money until maybe they are 20 something. In fact, now they're even becoming financially independent earlier. And then the roles change, especially in the African setup. The roles change. The dependent suddenly becomes independent. And the roles change further. By the time we are hitting 70 years, in many of our African setups, the children are actually providing for the aging parents. I am on the philosophy of this. Parenting is short-term. Kidogo, 18 years, then the rest is the lifetime. If you fail to educate your children now, you are not going to educate them when they are 30. Time will have passed. And wherever they stand, they will be called, especially I tell men, we bear your name. We children bear our father's name. They will be told, someone will be saying, for example, that is Kegwa Kamencho, yeah? That is Kamencho's daughter. She has no education. She's, she has nothing. Ni wako. Mtoto ni wako bears even your name. If you are able, give that child the best education you can. It's only for now. And from there, you start reaping dividends. Like now, our sister here, Miss Kamencho. Now, someone can say, that is Kamencho's daughter. She's doing very well, So what am I saying? If we think long-term, we may be able to deal with the short-term challenges of parenting. How do I make daddy, and of course, the importance of putting up a structure. It's very important to put a structure so that things are clear. Who decides for the children? That's what's called legal custody. Is it concurrent or consultation? I just inform, or should we sit and we'll go all the way to agreement? It's very important to have a structure. And then we come to the issue of access. When does she or when does he, when is the other person, the when and the how and where from? There is a structure so that people are not just showing up anytime and then the conflict increases. And
Is it hanging on that side?
And they, is it hanging?
It's back.
Are you okay now?
All right.
Are we back? All right, sorry.
That's okay.
Sorry, taking too long to answer this question, but I think it's very important because lack of structure is one of the reasons that people fight, because there's so many gray areas. I had planned to go for a wedding with the children. Then daddy now wants the children today. Of course, there'll be a fight. But if we plan in advance and we enter into, and we're encouraging people to enter into parental responsibility agreements. Parental responsibility agreement is a document which is provided for in the Children's Act. And it's all about our responsibilities. We expect this from you, and we expect this from you, and we expect it this time. But it goes beyond the money issue, and it goes beyond the access issues. It goes all the way to some ground rules. Now we're in conflict area. What rules should operate? Do I poison my children against the father, and vice versa? What should we tell children? What shouldn't we tell children? And when they come for access, what discipline should be maintained for uniformity? Should they watch movies until 2 a.m., but in house number 1, they sleep at 8 o'clock? So it's very important to put this parental responsibility agreement so that things are clear. Let me answer the third question without, it's not even a legal question. How do I make my lion daddy, in quotes, lion father, to have a good relationship, to meet the children and hopefully foster a good relationship? I don't know whether you watch the Animal Planet, especially the Pride. The lioness gives birth away from the lion, away from the pride, and it brings the cubs to the pride. It's a beautiful picture to watch, and they are now introduced to daddy. You know, I somehow find some of our fathers are like the lion, a bit distant from the children, but I think with time, they can create a warm relationship. The how, one, never give up. Because sometimes you feel, I tried, I called once, twice, he didn't. Don't give up, because this is a long life relationship. So number one, don't give up. Number two, if you're able to, and if he's not quarrelsome, avail the children. I don't know. Of course, discretion is called for, because you may go and there is conflict. Number three, use a third party. There is no lion that doesn't have another lion in the pride, maybe. He has friends, he has relatives, and I always pray that that person has a mother alive, because I found the mother to be a very big influence in the son's lives. If you're able to reach out to the mother, or maybe the father, because the father also has authority over the son, that may help. Conciliation, the spirit is a one of conciliation. We can only try. What I know is that once they start meeting, when they start having parties together, when they start watching Arsenal versus, for the boys, Arsenal versus Manu, somehow the bonding starts. So it's like the lion. You watch that lion after some time, well, when he's a nice guy, he can be left with the children. When the lionesses go to hunt, because most of the time, except when they are going for the big game, that's the other role of daddy. Daddy, you are there for big game. So to make the family get that big, the buffalo, we need daddy. So we keep trying and never give up. Once the relationship is established, it's able to run without a lot of your effort. Thank you.
Thank you. And I like how you continually keep on emphasizing on the child and the psychological well-being of the child. I like the wider philosophy that you've given about that the importance of perspective, the importance of structures. So Mama J, are there any issues that you'd still like to tease out, any particular questions you might have, or just feel free to just articulate them. What areas do you still have questions about on this particular thing?
For now, my point is I want to do the divorce and the custody, and I don't know where to start. And I also want the father to be in the picture because of the children. I'm also stuck on that part. So those are my only other points of questions. Yeah.
And what can she do? You've given us a lot. You've done a great job by giving the wider picture. So now, in terms of Mama J, is thinking in terms of actionables. How can she move forward from your perspective?
Okay, very well. When families go into conflict, three issues come up. It's children's issues, it's a marriage issue, and she also mentioned in her case property issue. Out of these three issues, only one that has to be resolved through court, which is a marriage, simply because we do not have divorce by consent in Kenya. So that is the only one you have to approach a court to determine the matter. The other two can be resolved by agreement. And let me give hope to people who are here. There are many people entering into agreements on how to resolve these issues. Many people. Not everybody is fighting because, the media highlights how people have fought over property and children. I can tell you many people behind closed doors in the boardrooms of lawyers and counselors are entering into many agreements. Not just low value agreements like on property. There are people who are entering into agreements on billions of properties. So I want to give hope to the people. There is growing practice of mediation and arbitration. So back to your how. On the children, I would advise you to approach, if it's hard, directly through a third party. That party could be a counselor or a lawyer or a family member. We need to look for a way of entering into parental responsibility agreement. In the event it doesn't work, because in some instances it doesn't work, the children's courts are open. And the children's courts are very, very well versed with these issues of children. They actually are like lawyers for the children. They would they even promote mediation in a court setup. So there are all these options, and that is what I would encourage as far as the issue of the children is concerned. On the issue of marriage, you have the discretion to go to court and seek an order for dissolution of the marriage. Must you fight like, cat and dog? No. People can be civil in how they do things. Again, back to the philosophy. Is there a need of undressing someone in public if the same person is going to be your partner, co-parent partner for life? So again, it's always good to be like Joseph of the Bible. Joseph of the Bible planned to leave Mary quietly. Sometimes he could do quietly, He didn't call the whole of Nazareth, I want to clear my name. Some of us are very committed to clearing our names. I want to clear my name. But as you clear your name, you are tarnishing your family and that of your children, especially the children. And when your children go to school, the teachers are pointing out to, those ones are the ones whose parents are warriors. They are known for fighting. So they just call them warriors, you know. So our marriage, it can be resolved, but the pronouncement has to come from the court. Property, you can sit and talk. The guiding principle being fairness. What is fair? What is fair sometimes is not measurable, but it's something we feel in our hearts. That's why everybody keeps shouting, that's unfair. But if they are told to just explain it. Now, why I use the word fair is because between the husband and wife, they know the ins and outs of what they have acquired during the subsistence of their marriage. They actually know what is fair. So that is the spirit, but of course we have the Matrimonial Property Law 2013, which is there to help parties and guide. Maybe that's a subject for another day, unless someone in this group would want me to expound further. I'll be very happy to expound. Where do you get a lawyer? It sounds like you already had two who did not behave well. There are many lawyers practicing in the family division of the High Courts. You could actually ask, you can get from the internet. You have to be careful. You have to meet maybe two or so and get a feel. Our society can also guide you to someone who can do your matter. And referral, it's mainly a referral system where you can ask someone who knows a good family lawyer. In family law, we do not win cases, we settle families. We do not, so I pray that you're able to get direction, and I could guide you on that, Mama J, one-to-one. Yeah.
And so yeah, thank you for that. Thank you for just dealing with Mama J's matter in such a very delicate and helpful way. What about for others who'd be interested to like reach you, as Musyimi and Company Advocates? What's the procedure? Because a lot of people have no idea. What is it, like a doctor's visit? Do I pay a consultation fee? Do you do it on the phone? How does someone do that?
Okay. Of course, our numbers can be shared, but we have a website, so one can get all our details from the website. Reaching out to us, you can give us a call or you can do an email. Once you do an email, we give an appointment. And yes, there's a consultation fee, which is settled. We can see you at the level of thinking through, because some people actually are usually at the level of thinking through or just general knowledge, not necessarily action, but just thinking through. And if action is needed, we have a team of very competent lawyers. I'm not on my own. We have a team that can assist. However, there are people who are in need and they are not able to raise the legal fees. There are institutions that give legal aid, like FIDA Kenya, CRU. I know they were giving that. I also know about another one called Clear, though I'm not very sure they take matrimonial matters as such. The men are a little bit disadvantaged in this area because I think most institutions are for the women, but maybe it's just answering to the realities of our country that, and even our constitution does acknowledge that women are vulnerable. So in terms of economic empowerment, they appear to be, yeah.
And I like that you talked about the fact about the gender aspect of things, because even when we were sharing the poster, two people wrote back to me separately saying, but is this only for women? Why are the men always disadvantaged? Yeah, so that's a very interesting observation. Mama J, I don't know if that has answered the questions for now, but we're gonna come back to you. For now, we want to go to our participants and some of the questions that they have asked. So I saw that there was a question that had been asked, first of all, on sort of like on asking for a breakdown of the terms. Gilbert asks, please describe co-parenting so we fully understand the concept. How does it work? How do the parents relate? What is acceptable and unacceptable? How about relationships with outsiders, such as lovers? So we have, so let me just very quickly read out some of what we had down in terms of the definitions, where we may have gone a bit wrong, and is going to come in and just really build on just this very late term. So when we talk about custody, a parent with custody of a child is responsible for the physical care of the child, including where the child lives and the daily decisions about how they are raised. You must have custody of a child to be involved in making the major decisions about a child's life, such as their education, religion, and healthcare. And then access. Access is a legal term for the right of the child and parent to spend time together. Although they may not have a role in making decisions, a parent with access has a right to receive information about the child's education, health, and well-being. Other family members like grandparents can also have the right to access. Usually, a parent who does not have custody will have access to the child. The right to access is also the child's right. The parent with custody can't refuse access to the other parent because of bad feelings between them or failure to pay child support. That child support issue, I suspect we're going to come back to it as well. And then in terms of co-parenting, the term co-parenting was coined to describe a parenting relationship in which the two parents of a child are not romantically involved, but still assume joint responsibility for the upbringing of their child. Occasionally, social scientists use the term to describe any two people who are jointly raising a child, regardless of whether or not they are both biological parents or have ever been romantically linked. For example, a single mom raising a child with the help of her own mother. But more often than not, co-parenting occurs following a separation, divorce, or breakup of a romantic partnership in which children are involved. So Anne, I don't know if there's what more you would say in terms of the legal definitions and the terms in terms that Gilbert had asked for. Does that cover it? Is that adequate?
Maybe I can just pick the three issues and try and define exactly, no, two issues, what do they mean? Care and legal, there's one which did not feature in Gilbert's questions, and it's called legal custody. Legal custody ordinarily should be joint. It is what we put, I believe, in Article 53 of our Constitution, that the child is entitled to care and protection by both parents, whether they are married to each other or not. What is in legal custody? Legal custody is the ability to make decisions. Ability to make decisions, big decisions, including education, which he mentioned, serious medical care, the child departure from the country. This is housed in the whole issue of legal custody. And I said, unless there is a reason where we would argue if one parent is involved, it always takes away from the best interests. Ordinarily, legal custody should be joint. The understanding being, if both parents confer on issues to do with the children, you are likely to have a better product. It's only taken away where if the duty to confer always delays the decision, or there is always a stalemate. So you can imagine on medical, we are debating, should we go to hospital A or hospital B? And the growth is going on, the child is still suffering, then that works against the best interest of the child. But ordinarily, legal custody should be joint. It's also important for it to be joint because it has financial implications. Which school? It would be terrible if Jane, some Jane somewhere, enroll the children in school A, whose fee schedule is 500,000 and above. Send a message to John, please pay school fees in-house in school. It will not work for a very simple reason. You've made a decision which is critical, which has financial implications. So that is legal custody. Then there is care and control. This is where there was some explanation of where the child stays. If a child is asked, where is home? That is where the child is likely to point out. And we have seen with practice, in many cases, that children of tender years, in many cases, are left with the mother. So she provides the home. But I have to say that is now evolving. because good daddies have come up and they are able to take care of children, bathing them, taking them, etc. Now the principle is, between mommy and daddy, who is best placed to take care of the children? Why? Because even under our constitution, Article 27, we remove discrimination on sex basis. So you can't tell a man, you can't take care of children because you are a man. There's nothing he can do, he's a man. But he's daddy, you know? So it is changing, it's no longer automatic. The children, custody can be given to the male parents. So what is in care and control? I don't like the word control because it makes a parent who has a child feel like I determine everything. For your information, there is something called shared care and control. And many people maybe should be going for shared care and control because both are spending time with the children. Both are making decisions to do with the children. It's only that maybe the children may stay in house one longer than the other house. Then we'll be talking about proper co-parenting. Co-parenting is where I'm watching, I'm seeing, I'm protecting, I'm defending. For that to happen, I need quality and I need quantity in terms of time. So if you're daddy only once in 2 months, it's very hard to co-parent. So we need quality of time and we need quantity of time. And that's why I'm saying maybe time is up to move forward, joint care and control, where both of you are sharing good time, but not destabilizing the children. So there's nothing like children are in this home today, they are in tomorrow there, because it will make them very unstable. But at least they have a home, but the other parent spends enough time with them. Access, yes. Access is available to the parent who does not have care and control. However, I need to add, access doesn't have to be an afternoon at a mall, because some people think access is like that. Access can be longer, and I'm very much for longer access because of the quantity elements of time spent with the children. So it can be overnight, depending on the circumstances of the case. It can be half holiday or a big chunk of the holiday. Access is not an afternoon hit and run kind of thing. Why is it, why I would argue against it is because it is important for a parent to relate with the children in a natural atmosphere, in a home setup. And then there is another family. Children have two extended family setups. There is another, the other side. There is Shosho there is Guka there, the aunties, and all. They also need to relate with the child. This child belongs to the society. It takes a village to raise a child. So this idea of one person raising a child in a corner somewhere hidden away from the public, it's not Africa, it's not proper. Sorry, it's not remove African. It's not right for any child. We are in what we call Ubuntu. We have to learn society. So if you only have one afternoon and Shosho is in Kakamega, when will the child ever meet the grandmother? Because it goes also to the issue of identity. Who am I? Who are my people? What is my culture? I'll never learn culture unless I go to Nyeri, you go to, wherever you are in Nyalgunga, is to learn your culture. You can see I'm very passionate about that. Grandparents, they cannot come to court to fight for access, but they can have access through their child, whichever that child is. That could be male or the female. Did I answer all the questions?
Yes, you did. We're just going to read out the questions that people have asked. I'll just read out in fives. Some of them are going to be repetitive, but you can just be able to crunch them. So Immaculate asks, what age do the children have a say in custody matters? Is a child who is 18 years included in the custody case? And then her other question is, what if due to past experiences in the marriage, the children do not want to spend as much time with the other parent? Should I force them to go? And she says that her two children are ages 11 and 18 years old. And then Agnes Mudumbi asks, what if the child faces unnecessary conflict? should one stay in an abusive should one stay in abusive and violent relationships? So that's a separate question. And then Frida Marangu asks a question on a situation. She says, so let's say you've been living together for 10 years plus, you have kids, you're known by everyone as this person's wife, but then one day the man decides to walk away and get married to another woman, like in a proper church wedding. How do you handle such a situation? We answered the question that Gilbert asked on co-parenting. And then, or maybe, so perhaps we can answer those first, and then we'll come back to the remaining questions that have been put down.
Yes, there is a question I did not answer, which is the one of third parties. What we call third parties, for example, a boyfriend of the father, of the mother, a girlfriend of the, you know, when they split, or those who are never married, now suddenly daddy has a wife or mommy now has a husband. How do we deal with them? Back to structure. If these third parties find no structure, you are in trouble, because they enter a situation. Oh, first and foremost, let's first deal with the non-serious third parties. Before we come to, I now want to settle down with this third party. The non-serious third parties, and I see some people subjecting children to girlfriends and boyfriends, casual. I would say no, because children know mommy and daddy. By the way, whether they saw them under one roof or they just know that's my daddy. I have interacted with children to believe that they always have this feeling, I wish my mommy and daddy were together. In fact, some kids take the responsibility of trying to unite.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. So you find them, you know, and you'll find it in art when you ask, draw your family. So instead of putting that one there and that one at the other side, they put them together. What does that mean? Today, if they see third party one, third party two, they are likely to resist. There's a reaction. It's not good for them, especially these casual ones of, you know, you keep changing. I always tell people, the kids have already, especially the ones who are coming from the marital setup, they are already suffering from the alienation and the departure, maybe from point A to point B. If you settle in point B and soon a third party shows up, it takes them farther and farther into that emotional turmoil. It would help to give them a breather, as you also need to, as you are checking whether third party is a serious third party or is a third party you have nothing, you know, no plans for the future. In the event now there are plans for the future, then something needs to be done in an organized way in terms of introductions, etc. Don't bring them too close, especially in the conflict setup. It is good if they find a good system working, they are likely to respect that system. Now, what age, I go to the second set of questions, what age can the children come and tell the magistrate, I don't want to be with my mother, you know? I think it's from 11, 12, going on, again, depending on their ability. You know, the kids who sharpen quickly, they are able to, the courts actually call children and interviews the children. And the interview is not done the way we would do it in the house, you know? Who do you want to stay with? That's an unfair question to a child. I think they go around. There's some psychology there to be applied. You have to go around so that you get to know this is where this child is as far as this issue is concerned. There is no parental responsibility past 18 years by law unless it is extended by court order. You can extend parental responsibility for a child of 18 years and above for a simple reason. The child is not yet financially capable, not financially independent, rather. Or the child has disability or other challenges. So someone can say, I've washed my hands, 18 years, birthday, done. No. The child can even apply to the court for extension of the responsibility, even past the 18 years. either of the parent also can. And I think the courts have been very helpful on that. What if they do not want to see their father? And it could be the other way around. What if they do not want to see their mother? They are 11 and 18 years. I think we don't want to force children to see their other parent. We want to encourage children to see the other parents. For us to get there, we need to know why they felt or they formed this position. It could be the trauma they suffered during the coverture, or something daddy directly did to them. It could also be the words we have spoken. The Bible says the power of life and death is in the tongue. And this is one area the tongue is extremely powerful. If daddy says something about mommy, which is negative, it sticks, and vice versa. So for this kind of a family, maybe what they would need first is family therapy. Where did we come from? How did the rain start beating us? When and how, Who did wrong? There is something that needs to be put right. Why? Access should be for the best interest of the children. By the way, it is the child who has a right to access. It is not the parent who has right to access. So this is a right we need to avail the child. If there is a hindrance of any nature, then we need to address it. It's likely to be a relational issue, so it's got to be dealt with at that point. Forcing by saying, enter the car, go, may not work, because they are human beings. However, I have never met someone who argued that it is not beneficial for children to relate with both parents in a healthy way. You are likely to have a more stable person if both of the parents are in the child's life constructively, because there are some people who are in children's life in a destructive way, constructively. So some work to be done there. Conflict and children. What does conflict do? If they are fighting in the home, what does it do? This is an area of great sadness in Kenya. It's not just conflicts between parents, it's also conflicts involving the children themselves. And it is, in our case in Kenya, it has gone to the level of not just conflict, it's murder in the family. Many people, I'm unhappy with my husband, I murder my children. Now, it is going with a mixing of two relationships. The children have a relationship which is separate from that one of husband and wife. So conflict tears children to the core. Conflict in front of children is disastrous. And that's why, back to the philosophy where we said, if you chose the wrong wife, it's your problem. Please bear some things for the sake of your children. Not that you stay together, but look for ways of resolving. I would really cry out to our people. Let's stop fights in front of children, or fighting the children beyond the discipline as allowed by the law, because discipline has to be there. If there is violence in the home, the psychological damage may be greater than the one of separation. Because it is like having, this is the cradle. It's like having a snake in the cradle. The child will never sleep. The child will never rest. The child will. And I also appeal to our male, and it's both genders, but it just happens that most, from the statistics, violence is mainly from the men, but of course there are women who are violent. And also there is joint, what we call AFRI, people fighting. Could we resolve issues in a better way than physical? Physical never resolves an issue, and you cannot teach an adult any lesson using violence. So stop teaching each other through violence. Finally, as someone cohabited with someone, then the man has walked away, has even gone to marry in church. What, I guess the question is one of recourse. Let me deal with the issue of the side of the wife. If he's already married, we have a problem there because one should stop the wedding before it happens. Of course, the question is, how long had you cohabited with the person? Yes, there was an issue of wife by reputation. People knew that is ex's wife. Those are the ones we call wife by reputation. If you had reached that level, you had some grounds to stop it because there are some unresolved issues. For example, what if you acquired a car together in your period mkiwa pamoja? That's matrimonial property. That needs to be dealt with. But of course, the big question will be, is your stay with that man adequate to qualify as marriage? May I say, we removed marriage by cohabitation in Marriage Act 2014. There was a big talk of, if you stay with a man for 6 months, you're married. You are deemed married. I'm sorry, you are not deemed married. Because the law can't force a marriage, because marriage is a voluntary union. So the law should not come and deem you married. Now, the law has provided for all kinds of marriages, including customary marriages. The best thing is make it easy, and COVID has really made it easy for marriage. We encourage our girls to try and get the certificate before they go in. On the side of the child, there you can sue him for maintenance or use the same method. We have the same dispute resolution methods that we spoke about. Talk to him. It doesn't work, do mediation. If it doesn't work, go to court, because the child needs to be provided for. Had you married proper, we would be talking about bigamy. But before one concludes that, one would have to look at the nature of the relationship you two had. I think that answers the second tranche of the questions.
Thank you. Right, so I'll just, because we actually have a good number of questions, so I'll just very quickly go through. I think we'll do 5, quick fire. So there's a question on, are we assuming that parents will always make decisions for the mutual benefit of children? What if that's not the case? How does the court ensure objectivity and protection of kids, especially when the harm is psychological? It's a really good question. And then there's another question about, what does one do if the children are with the mother, but she absolutely refuses the father any access to them, refuses to answer calls, refuses to physically see them, so that there's absolutely no way to grow the relationship between the father and children? And in this case, in this particular case, the children are too young to have phones of their own, and so they can't reach out to the father. Then there's another question, and it's, how can a father make up with his grown-up children if the parenting was wanting in the initial stages and the mother has sown seeds of discourse to the same? That's a good question. And there's a comment that a lot of this sounds theoretical. Most times the parties don't play fair during divorce. And then a separate question is, in the case where the mother has sole custody, is a consent of the father still required for departure from the country? There's a lot of questions, but yeah, there's still more. So yeah, you could just, some have been repeated, but just pick out those that, just give a response.
Okay. In the last question, the mother has sole custody, or what did you say?
So in the last question, in the case where the mother has sole custody, is a consent of the father still required for departure from the country? So yes, yeah, the mother has sole custody.
Wow. Okay. Should we assume parents will always work for the best interests? I mean, the parents will always work for the best interests of the children? No. There is the fact that we are having this discussion means there are parents who work against the best interests of the children. And there are many people also who use children as pawns in this game. They can be used as punching bags. They can be used as negotiation tools. So if that happens, then the court comes in, because the court is a guardian of children's rights. And when the court comes in, then it makes decision in terms of money, etc. But I have to say there is an area we are struggling in courts, which is the psychological one. How do you address psychological challenges which are inflicted or brought about by one of the parents? How would that happen? Talk about, say, abuse of children by the father. Yet the same father is the same one we are chasing for maintenance. It gets to a point where people feel a bit helpless if parents do not act as parents. They act as aggressors. Then even the court sometimes has challenges. It can punish them. But hey, if I go home and do the same thing, there's nothing we can do. That is why I talked about animals and co-parenting. It's us to cultivate that heart. It is very hard to legislate parenting. So there we can only prevail upon the goodwill of the parents, even as a court wields its sword of discipline, that we do not psychologically inflict injury in children. It's a very thorny issue, I have to tell you. We've taken children to psychologists. You do everything you can, but you end up with a bent child because the parents themselves did the bending. Instead of molding, they did the opposite. Let me tie that question to where things, how do you make up with your grown-up children when there was conflict when they were young? This can only be at the level of the same way you'd make up with someone who, your business partner, etc., but with the heart elements, because this is a heart relationship. Sorry has to be there. You have to, sometimes we parents have to be humble enough to say, I'm sorry. And we children, because now we are grown-up children, also need to have the heart to go to our parents and say, I also didn't do my best. And the focus is always the years left and people's psychological well-being. Even if I am 60 and I'm in good terms with my mother, for my own sake, I will pursue happiness. I can go and say, I'm sorry. And I have been in moments of reconciliation of this nature. And let me tell you, it is something very touching. It is the story of the Christian faith of reconciliation. It is possible. It takes both parties to finally agree, but it takes one party to make the initial step. The one who feels this burden should take it. Number one was, okay, so there was another one. The mother refuses with the children. They are young children. She has kept them. They are her children. She thinks she can give them everything a human being needs. The answer is, sorry, mommy, you are wrong. For a very simple reason, God gave a child mommy and daddy. It is so even in the animal kingdom. I keep going back to the animal kingdom. You are mommy, you will never be daddy. And vice versa, because there are men who also do the same thing. So, and then the people you are keeping in your house are growing up every day. And one day they'll know how to board a matatu and they'll know where daddy lives. I know someone who hit 18 and directly from school went to stay with the father because the mother had kept her little child close to her and she thought she's enough. But the child stayed with the need of father. It is a natural thing. It is a very tight thing. It's identity. It's many things. So I can say you could be, in your eyes, succeeding now, but I can assure you, tomorrow you'll have challenges.
So what if it is the family facing that? What if it's the father
Unless,
facing that? How can he make an intervention if it's the man facing that?
sorry,
What if
I
it's-
didn't get.
What if it is the man, the father facing that challenge, that the mother has refused access to him, to the children, and they're too young to have phones on their own? What can a father do in such a situation?
I am actually dealing with the father situation.
Okay.
I am addressing the mother.
Okay.
The person holding the children is a mother. Maybe if she understood that these children need their father, again, the best interest of the children. If you look at our act, black and white, children have a right to protection, care, connection with both parents. So if the mother realized the children need father, she may release them. I was addressing the mother.
I want to problematize because things are messy in divorce. It's emotions all over the place. And what should be done, unfortunately, because of the emotions and everything, is rarely done. So what if the mother is treating the children like a pawn, is the pawn, like she is treating them like a pawn? And is it, because to me, like I want us to approach it from, what about if she never really understands? What can
I was coming to that. I was coming to that.
Correct.
I was trying to address the issue sociologically first, relational. Then from there we go legal. Let me tell you, I want to say thumbs up to our children's court. We've put people in jail for this issue.
Wow.
There are many people, warrants of arrest are hanging on their head for this issue. Hiding children, frustrating access, poisoning children against their father or against their mother. It can be both sides. You see, the children's court is not lacking tools to punish these people. And actually, it can remove children from the custody of the mother and give the children to the father in a twinkling of an eye. So that's why I was addressing mommy before the court orders come, because the court orders are available.
Wow.
But she'll be, why I took that time, Madam Kamenchu, is because I know this is a very, very problematic issue. And it is true, children, when they are very young, they need mommy, but they also need to relate with daddy. So we are in that. And of course, when emotions come at the level of husband and wife, we can do a lot of irrational things, and this is one of them. But I wanted to tell this mother, looking at it now, I've practiced for 28 years, looking at it in hindsight, there are people who had children when I started practicing. They are no longer children. They actually they left and went to relate with their father. Some even run away the moment they know it is bus number, this one. And now there's an Uber app when they start getting phones. And it is so easy. You just send a pin and someone comes. You cannot hide children. Children are not animals. You can come out and say, I have issues. Let's address them. The only issue, but the law is not lacking tools. Then the last one was, people do play. Yes. There is playing one against the other. The two traded things are money and access. You pay access, you pay the money, I will allow you to see the children. You allow me to see the children, then I will give you the money. Now, that is an illegal trade because both are responsibilities which parents bear against the children. So even poor fathers or poor mothers are entitled to see their children. So money is important because it's what you take the children to school. But you can have children even in the best school in Kenya with which is that child is bent. Still, that's not a complete child. So it is a game which the court knows how to curtail very well. If someone is saying, if you don't, I will not, please go to court because the court can resolve it. But still, the place of mediation is important because some things we do, we haven't thought through. Maybe if I sit and think through and I hear the other side, I may change this trade of money for access. Finally, there is a mother who has sole custody. Can she leave jurisdiction? If it is sole, absolutely sole, where any embassy will look at the court order and get the comfort that the court has placed all the decisions of this child in the hands of this mother or father, then the child can leave jurisdiction without the signature of the other side. But I have noted that everybody these days is super cautious on this issue of leaving jurisdiction. So you find the embassies will keep asking. They will push a little more. So yes, the child can leave, but again, it depends on what you call sole custody. Sometimes it's care and control. If you have care and control, so long as there is joint legal custody, you should not live with the child without the consent of the other parent.
Thank you so much. You handled those questions so very well. So I'll just do another very quick fire of, so what if there was only a visitation only to my parents without any dowry payments? I have my child with me. I left because I was in a violent and abusive relationship. I had engaged my uncles with him, but it didn't work. What if there was only a visitation? How do you get the other parent to support towards basic needs of the children? So I think, yeah, that's the same person asking the question. That what if there was only a visitation, that there was no dowry paid, and the lady left because she was in a violent and abusive relationship, and she tried to engage her uncles with him, but it didn't work. So she's asking about how does she get him to support towards the basic needs of the children, and she left because of the violence and the abuse. They weren't married. And then another question is, the father has access to the children, however, he does not support them in any way. When invited to a meeting by the lawyer to discuss the way forward, he declines. What to do in this matter? And then another question, you can tell me, but if I'm going too fast, you're on point in terms of taking them, yeah? Then the other question is, where as a mother you have left with the kids and the father is now dating other women and he asks to take the kids with him on holiday, in brackets, where you know he will have his random liaisons, what rights do I have to say no in order to protect my children from that sort of promiscuous environment? And I think Anne, you had actually mentioned something about this. So this lady is asking about the father, you left with the kids, but the father is dating other women and he wants to take them on holiday, but maybe with different people. So yeah, what rights does the mother have to say no in order to protect her children from that sort of promiscuous environment? And then another question is, how do you handle a parent who just wants to see the children, but is not ready to provide anything in upbringing the children when he has a far better job than the parents staying with the children? And yeah, these issues of child support, and it's come up again. And then another question is, I am working out of the country and want to start divorce proceedings. My husband lives with the children, but I pay all bills, including school fees, and live when home. He withdrew emotionally from us 5 years ago, doesn't contribute to upkeep of the children. We haven't had a relationship as husband and wife for 9 years. I've been hanging on for the sake of the children. He's become verbally and emotionally abusive, and children ask me to divorce their dad as they're afraid of what he may do. I want to start the legal process, but will my absence disadvantage me and deny me custody of the children? He has refused to talk about the marriage and is hostile to me and the extended family. He doesn't listen to his relatives who have used to try and reconcile us. He's an orphan. Okay, that was quite heavy, so I'll just read it again. And the question is, I'm working out of the country and I want to start divorce proceedings. My husband lives with the children, but I pay all bills, including school fees, and live when home. He withdrew emotionally from us 5 years ago, doesn't contribute to upkeep of the children. We haven't had a relationship as husband and wife for 9 years. I've been hanging on for the sake of the children. He's become verbally and emotionally abusive, and the children ask me to divorce their dad as they're afraid of what he may do. I want to start the legal process, but will my absence, because she's out of the country, will my absence disadvantage me and deny me custody of the children? He's refused to talk about the marriage and is hostile to me and the extended family. He doesn't listen to his relatives who have used to try and reconcile us. He's an orphan. So we have those questions. So we have, I think, one more round after this.
Okay. The question of maintenance keeps coming. And it's a very, very, very critical issue. That's why I started with the philosophy, because I think some people treat children like other children somewhere, you know, as if you are a donor being asked to give some money for needy children in another country.
Charity.
And then there are some people who killed what I would call the dream they had about their children simply because they are fighting the parent. That's why, Madam Kamenchu, I have to keep going back to the philosophy of things, because if we don't deal with it at the philosophy level, it becomes very hard to deal with it at financial level. But I want to give comfort before I go there and say there are men I'm seeing fighting to maintain the children. I've even gone to court with, taken some men to court. They want to upgrade the children. The children are in this school, they want to lift the standard. So this is not a male thing. It is just some naughty daddies here who are not doing their best. Now, children's issue, the same way we've talked about over and over. If it doesn't work, if talking to him doesn't work, please take him to court. Because with time, children are suffering. They miss one term and another term. They are behind in class. So this is not something you can keep hanging for too long. Action needs to be done. Kindly hit the children's court. It is very conversant and very generous in terms of giving airtime to the parents. That applies to those two questions that were there on the issue of maintenance. I left with children. Then I access, the man want to go for holiday with the children. And I know there will be a third party. These third parties, we keep talking about them. I think we had covered this issue to a certain extent. Maybe the message is to address the person who want to quickly introduce the children to third party. And that person could be male or female, because either of them can have a third party. The way you feel about third party is not the way your children will feel about third party. You know, some people cheat themselves. They say, she's so good, or he's so good. That's not how children feel when they meet third party. She's good to you, but these ones know their mommy and they know their daddy. Be careful. So this issue needs to be addressed, especially if it is a passing by third party. We talked about serious third parties, because the moment people divorce, they are open for remarriage. So you can't say never, you know. But when it is this one of picking and dropping, I would say the man is being irresponsible, or the woman would be responsible, because of the psychological effect this has on the children. I know people who went with the sweetheart, you know, who is better than the mother or the father, and things fell apart, like the book reads. It didn't work. Children are in the room, they are not talking, it is counterproductive. And next time you ask for access or to go with them for holiday, they refuse. So I would say this issue needs to be discussed at a forum, hopefully in mediation. Because maybe some people, in the heat of the moment, infatuation, falling in love, some is temporary insanity. In that moment, they don't see things objectively. So maybe a session where you explain yourself and he explains himself may give us a product. And then there is
any legal on that point?
Sorry?
Is there any legal recourse in that? In such
Absolutely.
An
You would have legal recourse if that issue is likely to injure the children psychologically. Now, children should be protected from abuse. And let me tell you, our Children's Act includes psychological and emotional abuse in the list of abuse. Abuse is not just physical. Abuse, that's why conflict, we talked about fighting in front of the children, it is abuse. So the children know mommy, they know daddy. It takes time for them to embrace another arrangement. And so if, for me, I would look at the time. I mean, when did we part? Now, when did these third parties come? Is it habitual for him to, now it's Jane, then it's Dorcas, then children are confused, you see? One would have to look at the facts of this case, but the court can give recourse if you feel that it's going to be injurious, because a man has an option of taking his children for holiday. Maybe make it short and now go with third party for the remaining days, having returned the children to mommy. Remember, access is for the best interest of children. Access is not a right to the parent. It is for the well-being of the children. So if the access starts becoming counterproductive, then there is need for intervention. Now, the last question is for my sister who is out of the country. The children are in the custody of the man. Is that what I got? In the country. He's not contributing, and now he's rude. She pays everything. She would want to start, from her conversation, it sounds like divorce costs and also a custody cost. Custody issue outside, when you're outside the country, it can, the absence from the country can be prejudicial. One, you have to deal with the jurisdiction issue, because the court which has jurisdiction to arbitrate over your children is the Children's Court in Kenya, because they are resident in Kenya. So you have to come to the country to do this, the custody case. You've got to tell the children, what do you want to do with them? Are you relocating, or would you want, are you relocating back to the country, or would you want to depart with them to another country? Both of them can be allowed. It depends on the facts of the case. You can come to the country, you go to court and say, I want to depart with my children. Give me custody. And number two, give me leave to travel outside jurisdiction with the children. And these are the reasons. One, the atmosphere here is not good. Maybe because of your job, you're not able to come back to Kenya. They themselves are crying out for help. So they allow me to go. You, however, you've got to be very ready with all answers the court can ask. You've taken children from Kenya. Where are you taking them? Where do they have space? Is it a suitable place? How about education? Because even that departure from Kenya, relocation to another country, has also to serve the best interest of the children. So if you're in a conflict place, like if you work for the UN in a conflict country, you see now courts may not allow you to depart with children to go to a conflict zone. So it depends on the facts of the case, but it can be allowed. A lot of preparation is needed there, Madam.
All right, thank you. Gone really in depth. We have about 10 more questions to go. I noticed that some of them are repeated. I'll just read everything out and then you can pick out the ones that we haven't talked about. So someone asked about, how do I get information about my children from their school, from their doctor, or any other professionals? And this is where he's been denied access. So how do I get information about my children from their school, from their doctor, or any other professionals? Another question is, what happens when the parent with the kids dies? Now the parent with the access. And then another question.
Sorry, I missed that. I missed that.
Should I start from the first one or the second one?
Second one.
Okay. What happens when the parent with the children dies? What happens when they die? The parent with the access, with the custody, with the legal rights to have the children. What happens when the parent dies? And then Are there guidelines on how long a child should visit? Are there guidelines on how long a child should visit? And then a separate from someone else, the question was, so he's a loving and responsible working husband, a jobless mother, marriage breakup due to infidelity by the wife, 3 children, ages 5, 3 children, and one is a girl, 5-year-old girl, 2-year-old boy, and 10-month-old girl. So in this situation, who between the parents has a better chance of being awarded custody? I'll just read it again. So he sets the situation that he's a loving and responsible working husband with there's a jobless mother. The marriage has broken up due to infidelity by the wife. There's 3 children, all below the age of 5 years old. 2 of them girls, 1 boy. And so he asks, who between the parents has a better chance of being awarded custody? And then the other questions, so someone asks, please speak more about the process of getting an arrangement in place before living with the kids. So please speak more about the process of getting an arrangement in place before living with the kids. And then related to that, same person is that we have no property together, so the children are with me. Now this is the mother. The children are with me, and he asked that I do not communicate with him. How else can he be nudged on his moral and legal responsibility? And this question has come up again, the issue of responsibility. So we have no property together, so the children are with me, and he asked that I don't communicate with him. How else can he be nudged on his moral and legal responsibility? And then another question is, please clarify the difference in rights as parents in a prolonged separation versus a formal divorce situation. This is a good question. So the person is asking if you could clarify the difference in rights that our parents have in a prolonged separation versus the rights they have in a formal divorce situation. Then this other question is also related to the issue of support. So she says, not sure what he is doing to earn a living, but he has totally neglected the financial support. He's still living in the rented house we were in. So there's definitely income that he's getting, but he won't support us. He's also very elusive. What if he claims he has no income and I pursue legal action? So she's asking what happens in that case. I think we have 3 questions to go. And then so this question is, what if there are issues of mental illness of one spouse? What if there are issues of mental illness of one spouse? How does one deal with that? And then this next question, I think might have been addressed. How can one legally travel abroad with their children during a separation? In brackets, not a divorce. Oh yeah, so there's a bit of a difference here. So how can one legally travel abroad with their children during a separation and it's not a divorce? So how can one legally travel abroad? And then related to this is, what can one do if the father is not approachable or is not willing to give consent for children's travel abroad, yet the mother needs to go abroad to pursue a job that will help her take care of the kids? Wow, this is quite strong. So what can one do if the father is not approachable, if he's not willing to give consent for the children's travel abroad, but then the mother needs to go abroad to take on a job that will help her take care of the kids? This other question is, what are the requirements for a divorce? I think we're not going to take that one for today because we'll have a separate topic on divorce later. And then another question is, how much is consultation? What if I don't have money? And then separate question is, please share contacts of pro bono lawyers who take these cases. Please share contacts of pro bono lawyers who take these cases. And this question, I'll actually just also throw it to all the participants, that if anyone has contacts or knows about pro bono lawyers who take the cases, kindly just share them in the chat so that people who need this kind of support can be able to get it. And I think there's maybe 1 or 2. Yes, I think this question has already been asked. What of cases where there's mental health and no certainty of safety? Alimony versus child support, are they the same thing or mutually exclusive? Yes, so this is the last question. Alimony versus child support, are they the same thing or mutually exclusive? So that's a lot of questions. We'd be interested to just get your answers on those, please.
Any questions? Okay, maybe I just touch a bit on each.
Yes.
How to get information from the school. Mother is not cooperating, or maybe father in that case is not cooperating. I would say go to school and be put in the mailing list, access to the portal, then you'll be having all information. Sometimes we wonder whether parents should go and take battles to school. No, but if you are daddy, you can. It's in the birth certificate. So you go to the office and ask, please put me in the mailing list so that you get whatever mail or calls that come. Death of a parent with custody, the custody moves to the other parent unless that parent is not capable. And we have had situations where even grandmother has been given custody. It's about the best interest of the children. If you keep it there, you will get it right. But of course, the other parent comes first. And then number 3, how long a child should visit, guidelines on how long a child should visit. It depends on the circumstances. If the relationship is good, the environment is safe, the child can go for long. If you feel there are intervening factors that would either put the child at risk if the child stays for too long, or the child may be exposed to something not good, then you can reduce the time. But this question should be answered the same way the question of how long should I meet my friend? you can meet your friend as often and as long as it is possible. So it is about the quality of the relationship and the circumstances in your case. Jobless, loving and responsible husband, working husband. There is a jobless mother who has time to commit adultery. There are 3 children. They are all young. If they went to court, who would get the custody of the children? Among the things that the court looks at in granting custody of children is the conduct of the parents. We sometimes we analyze father and we analyze mother, even in terms of conduct, and now say all things to put together. That is together with other things like the age of the children, the sex of the children, the best interests of the children, the wishes of the children where they are of age. If we look at all circumstances, this child can go with either. It depends on the facts that are placed before the court. The father is not disqualified on the basis of his father, his male. I had already dealt with that. And someone can comfortably quote Article 27 of the Constitution. No discrimination. By the way, this is an area I wish more fathers would approach the Constitutional Court, because if you're a good father, I don't see why you should be prejudiced in terms of custody issues. It's discrimination. The only problem, I want to throw caution. I think the history we have is where I think some men misbehaved. So there's always some hesitation in giving children to men, maybe because of the history we have from the villages, from the newspapers, from the news, you know. So it's like, so it's a little bit of swimming upstream, but one can swim. But yeah. Arrangement in place before leaving, please elaborate a little bit more. Yeah. When people are leaving, it's high voltage time. So this ties with Mama Joy's situation. And I had addressed it. Talk it out if you are able to talk it out. If you are not able to talk it out, please use a friend. If you're not able to use a friend or family member, see an official mediator. And there are mediators trained for this business of trying to resolve these issues, so that by the time you're departing from that house, there's an arrangement on custody, care, control, money, everything. I don't know how else to elaborate except to give you a sample agreement and say this is the kind of agreement that we create in this kind of situation. The agreement doesn't have to be very lawyery, It can, by the way, there are many people with gentleman's agreement, but because people in the fight end up being gentlemen and they tear each other, the best thing is to have a legal document as opposed to keeping a gentleman's agreement. Arrangement, okay. Before leaving with the kids, I'll address that. No property. The kids are with you. There was an issue of legal custody, moral and legal responsibility. There are no properties between the two of you. The kids are with you, but the man is not taking responsibility. I think I've already addressed that issue. Same channels to be used. There's prolonged separation. What is the difference between that and divorce? Separation is where parties stay apart, but they're still married in terms of certificate of marriage. However long you stay apart, you still stay married. I did not understand whether this question was asked in the light of divorce or in the light of the question. Maybe someone can elaborate in the next session. Just to point out that however long you stay, you will still be at the level of separation. Divorce is where you approach the court for the nullification of that marriage. Financial support, I have already addressed that. The guy is elusive, at the same time he has no money. Now let's address the no money group. The no money group can be genuine and it can be a defense. No money is not equivalent to I'm not working. Many Kenyans don't work, but they have money because they say we are hustling nation. So someone can say I'm jobless. There are many jobless people in Kenya, but they earn some money. So how do we deal with a genuinely no money? If the person has been willing but not able, there's nothing one can do. We can only talk about adjusting the children's needs, pending ability. Remember, no money is not a permanent situation. So I don't escape parental responsibility because I don't have money now. No. In fact, some cases we say, we are giving you 6 months or 3 months to jenga yourself, build yourself. And then we come and review so that you take some responsibilities. If you look at the lifestyle of a person, you can tell whether they are genuinely having no money or they are hiding money. There are some people driving good cars, but they have no money for children. The court knows how to deal with those ones. It depends on the circumstances. Is it no money genuinely, not no money as an excuse? And there are quite a number of guys who are in civil jail on the no money ground, especially where everything of theirs points to they have resources. They have simply refused to employ them on the children. Mental illness and on parenting. Yes, I don't know whether this was raised at the level of security or was raised at the level of how do you continue relating with the child even if you have mental challenges. Mental ill mother or father is still parent. Maybe the idea is to look at the circumstances and see how one can foster parenting even in those situations. However, the court, now going to the issue of security, remember the best interest of the children. It's unlikely that the court will put the child in the hands of someone who has mental ailment because we need someone who is able to take care of the well-being of the children, and someone in that state will not be. Travel abroad, a very contentious issue because it affects something called access. Why people fight jurisdiction cases with their last breath is because my child will be staying in Europe or America. If that child finances are involved, then I can't see my child as often as I should. So there's some valid point on that. But if you're traveling for work, for the support of the family, if he does not consent, you go to court and you seek leave to travel outside jurisdiction with the child. And it will be the same, you'll have to go through the same process I had mentioned to our sister abroad. You have to show, I am leaving for this reason. I have made this arrangement in the receiving country in terms of schooling, medical care, so that the departure, it is for the well-being of the children. Father not, so that ties with father not willing to consent. There were two of the same nature. Consultation pro bono, I don't know individual lawyers who take pro bono cases, maybe one here, one there, but not at the level where you can refer. I believe Madam Kamencho had posted for us feeder and crew, and had talked about an institution called Clear, though I'm not very sure they take those kind of cases, and you can get their contacts from the net. Alimony versus child support was the last issue. Alimony is the maintenance of the woman by the man arising out of a marital relationship. Maintenance is just that, child support. They are separate things. Alimony is a dying thing in Africa because people voted for the new constitution. Article 45 says you are equal. Husband and wife are equal during marriage, before marriage, during marriage, and at the point of dissolution of the marriage. So those people who are seeking alimony in court are having challenges because if we are equal, why would you come to me for support? Questions are being asked, but under the Marriage Act, either of you can pursue the other for maintenance. A man can pursue a woman for maintenance and vice versa. It's all about the facts. If we are both equal, then I should also be able to support someone. I believe I've answered all.
I believe you have. You've done a great job. You had more than 30 questions in total. So yes, thank you so much. We have also not forgotten that we are with Mama J here. Hey, Mama J. Hello.
Hi, I'm here.
Yes. So I think your situation really laid the ground very well for the discussion, and we also had other people writing with their questions, and I hope that it's been useful for you on a personal level.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, and so also, as well as to all the other participants, we've tried to answer the questions as much as possible. And thank you for sharing your questions. So, I mean, so many issues have come out that Madam Anne Bugwa has dealt with so powerfully. But some of the points that remain with me is the issue of the philosophy, continually remembering the philosophy of the marriage, of the family, of the approach to it, that also centering the children, that it's all about keeping the best interests of the child at all times. And also the issue of perspective, that and I'm saying this in the context of, I'm a very emotional person, so I know that if I go nuclear, I go full nuclear. So that, of course, someone going through such a situation that emotions are extremely heightened, and sometimes it's hard to be reasonable and agreeable, but as much as possible, just keep perspective as because it's all about the best interests of the child. And then also the structures that she's really taken us through, the structures such as advanced planning, parental responsibility agreements, the ground rules, the uniformity, and so much on that. So much has come out on this, and even beyond just the legal aspect, but also on a very humane, a very humane and very real approach to it. About remembering that we are all human beings, we are all sensitive people. Let us all try to keep our common humanity as much as possible, focusing on quality and quantity, and when it comes to co-parenting, remembering that child rearing is so much. There's so much that can be affected, that they're at a very sensitive time, and we don't want to be the ones breaking the people that we are trying to bring up. And even as all this was coming out, something that came up was how, as a society, some of the problems that we have are also related to the foundation of how we are getting into relationships, the foundation of how we are getting into marriages, the foundation of how we are getting into families, because it's so common that women end up getting left because there's nothing holding someone down. So I mean, I know we're the generation that grew up saying, oh, we don't care about rules, oh, marriage is not important, but I think time shows you that actually it's not only about you, that also children are there, children can be affected. And I think as women, we have a big role to play in ensuring that we bring up families and children that are psychologically healthy. And a big part of it comes from choosing the right person. And I'm not saying this in the sense to sort of like make anyone feel regret that I've messed up my life, I chose the wrong person. But I think moving forward, that these are discussions that we even need to take beyond just the child custody access, also just going to the whole issue of relationship formation and the structure of relationships, and yes, so that we can have, because for us to have healthy children, we have to have healthy families, and even us ourselves, we have to be healthy people. So yeah, we're just ending right now. We are done. Frida, someone says quite eye-opening. It's been very eye-opening for me as well in so many aspects, not just the legal aspect, but even the sociological aspects. And Anne has done an excellent job really taking us through a lot of the options that exist, a lot of the possibilities and ways that one can maneuver through things. So thank you so much for that, Anne. We were very, very, very honored by your taking the time, and even your approach, very motherly and very sweet, and just very affirming and kind. So we are now coming to an end. We have shared the contacts of how you can reach out to the Musyimi Law Firm Advocates for more advice, and if you'd like to just take up additional legal consultations, then we've shared the contacts on the chat. Yeah, so the next forum that we'll be having is going to be on adoption, and it's going to be next Saturday, same time. I'm just seeing that people are saying, thank you for the session, great insights. Thank you for the informative session. Thank you so much. So yeah, I guess it's now about 8 minutes past 5, and after all this, I think it's a lot of food for thought for us to go and think about. So I wish you guys all the best, and have a great weekend. Enjoy yourselves, love yourselves, and keep well. Thank you so much for the panelists, Anne, and for Mama J, and all our participants that came on board. The recording can also be found on the Musyimi Law Firm Facebook page if you'd like to share with other people that will benefit from the discussion. So from now, you can just have a great weekend. We'll just end the meeting now. So Anne, I'm going to call you on the phone, and also Mama J, I'm going to call you on the phone, then we can just be able to finally wrap up. All right, bye everyone.